why is it that you have to become productive? What happens when you become productive? So that's something which I'm going to be talking about. So let me just share my screen, and I'm going to be explaining 10 reasons, right? 10 reasons why you should start thinking about becoming productive. If you can see this on the screen, if you're able to see my mind map, just type MM in the chat box if you can see this clearly. Okay, thank you. Thank you all. So the first reason why you have to start becoming productive is because of this. How do you think you can make those extra money? Because we only have 24 hours and we have to do our daily chores. We have to take care of lots of other things as well, right? But then how are you going to increase the value of your time? But even before that, let's understand what is the value of 1 hour of yours now. Are you ready for this exercise? It's going to be a very quick exercise, but we're going to be doing this now. All right. So what I want you to start doing is, this is, you not have to share, but you can if you want, but just look at your monthly earnings, and let's say you work for X number of days. It can be, let's say, 20 days. It's a 20 working days is what you have. So monthly by 20 days, right? So that's going to give you per day value. Okay, so now all you have to do is you have to just divide this by, let's say, 8 hours, right? 8 hours is the standard working time that people say. So per day value by 8. Once you do this, you're going to be getting the value of 1 hour. And your constant aim, let's probably, you know the calculations, right? So just do this and you will get a number here, you'll get a figure here, and your goal is to keep increasing that per day value. And just type in the chat box, what are the different ways through which you can increase the value of your time, because now you've done this uh, exercise, right? Kind of a self-reflection exercise that you have done now. Type in the chat, in the comment box, even if you're listening to this as a recording, just type below how is it that you think you can increase the value of your time. You can pause the video if you're watching this as a recording and just type that. Think about it and just type, how do you think you can increase the value of your time? This is for you, all right? So this is the first reason why you have to start becoming productive, because now uh, what you can do in the current 1 hour, if you think you can do even 1.5 times of that, because you are staying productive, you're staying focused, that per day value automatically increases, right? You might not be exactly getting that money in your bank account immediately, but at least you have that space, you have that extra time to put in that extra effort to increase the value of your time. That's how you can increase the value of time by being productive. Okay, that's the first reason. Second one being, this is what I told you when I was starting off, right? Live for 1,000 years. How do you think you can live for 1,000 years? How do you think you can become a legend? What is legacy? It's about, if you look at it in a the big picture of being a legend or leaving your legacy, it's about living even after you're gone. So that's what legacy means, right? So how do you live for 1,000 years? This is how. Okay, let's say person A is there. Let's say person A lives for 100 years. This person is 1x productive. Effective lifespan is 100 years. Effective lifespan is 100 years. Person B, Again, lives for 100 years, not a superhuman, right? 10x productive, effective lifespan, 1,000 years. Well, you cannot be productive from the day you're born. That's over exaggeration, but you understand the point, right? So 10x is just, I just taken a number. You can, this is in your hands. You can become 10x, 15x, 20x relative to this person. That's always possible, right? So that's how you can live actually for 1,000 years. If this was a bulb on moment, just type bulb on in the chat box. So that's how you leave a legacy by producing more, by being creative, by becoming productive. This is an advantage. You get to live more. If this was a bulb on moment, just type bulb on in the chat box. The third reason, thank you all for typing that. The third reason why you should become, or at least start thinking about becoming productive, is being in this zone of flow and creativity. That only happens when you're there, when you're present, when you're pondering over something for a longer duration of time in a very focused way, in a very productive manner. That's what creates that flow and creativity. And it's an amazing thing to have. Two ways, or when you talk to people, they'll say, oh my god, the time flew so fast, I did not even realize. When they're saying that, there are two kinds of people, all right? One type is where they're just whiling away their time, they're just focusing on things that are really not creating impact in their own life or anyone else's life. Therefore time flies, they have no control of it. But two, when you're also in the flow state, when you're in the super productivity state, super focus state, when you're in the hyper creativity state, that's when the flow also happens. And even then you will have this feeling that time flew by, and you did not realize that so much time has gone past. But that's a great state to be in. That's okay to be. It's always great to be in that state. So it's difficult to get into that often, but I'm sure you know what I mean. If you got this, just type flow in the chat box. If you got what I'm meaning here. The fourth one is about enjoying the feeling of getting things done. How many of you would like to check off those things from your to-do list? I would love to do that. And in fact, study shows that the more you do, the more you get the trigger to do it again because of those dopamine shots that happen in your head. Right. So that's the thing. The fourth one is because you enjoy the feeling of getting things done. If you're productive, you can check off more things. That's a better feeling to have than keeping things lying on those to-do lists. All right. The fifth reason why you have to start becoming productive is to have total control over time. How many of you would love to have control over time rather than time controlling you day after day after day? Having total control over time, which means it's not about you cannot make the time go faster or slower. That's not in your hand. But what is in your hand is to know how you're utilizing that time of yours. What you're doing is not so much important, because in that you can be doing so many things in a given time, or right, in a given period of time. For example, if you're someone who's interested in learning, what you will do is you will just go to your calendar and mark 8 p.m. to 8:45 or 9 p.m. every Wednesday as your learning hour, as your community hour. That's about having total control over time on during every Wednesday from 8 to 9. That's what I mean by having total control. It means to you exactly know what is that you're going to be doing. Even when you go to sleep, you know exactly, if you know what time you're going to be sleeping and what time you're going to be waking up, that's when you really have total control. The single biggest way to tell if someone is actually super disciplined is just by looking at this one thing. Does this person know exactly what time he or she goes to sleep? And does this person know exactly what time he or she is going to wake up? How many of you are in that space? Or how many still need to improve there? If you're there, just type I am there. If you know you have to improve, just type improve. Just type improve in the chat box. All right, that's fine. Be all you have to know is that you have to be aware of this. All right, so that's the fifth one. The sixth one is contribute more because you have that extra time, focus, and energy. So being productive is not about just keep on doing things one after the other and one after the other. That's not what it means to be productive. To be productive is also about taking lots of breaks in between, because if you have gone through the course, the leadership growth model, you will know that you have those high energy cycles through a day, and it can vary between individuals. But when you do those high impact tasks during this high energy cycles through the day, you know that when the low energy cycle is going to happen, and that time you are not going to be doing any high intensive task. Therefore, the chances of you getting into that burnout zone is going to be so much less. That's what it means to be super productive. If this was a bulb on moment, if you learned some cool thing through this, just type BO in the chat box. All right. So now, because you're becoming productive, you can contribute more to your own goals, to your family's goals, to this community, anything. All right. All these contributions can happen. Seventh reason why you have to start thinking about or start becoming productive is you will be planning well and you will be planning ahead. So if you actually watch, you will see this when you start implementing the systems that I've shared with you. When you start becoming productive, you'll see that those individuals are naturally good at planning ahead, because it's kind of a obsession for them to know what is it that they're going to be doing well ahead in time. They might be going on a vacation, but they will exactly know how they're going to be spending their time. That is what it is. All right. Uh, it, if it is not an obsession, you will never reach those the next level. So I've just got to know about this book title. I've not read this book, but it says be obsessed or be average, something like that. All right. But that was a very catchy title. So you have to be obsessed with learning and implementing all these things, and only then you will see that you can relate to all these reasons of becoming productive. Okay, that's the seventh one. The eighth one being, it's easier to find what you like when you're productive. Because why I'm saying this is because it's experimentation, right? When you're productive, when you have more time, when you have no more focus, when you have better energy levels, you can try out so many different things. When you try out different things, it's very easy for you to know what are your top values, your strengths, your weaknesses, what is it that you like, and that's an amazing state to live in. When you start living your top values every single day, that is when real magic happens. Finding that passion, what it means to find your passion and live it every single day. It's about knowing your top values exactly, in a very crystal clear way, knowing what are all your top values and living by that day after day after day. And when you live that, that itself creates a natural recharge of energies in your system, because work will never be boring. Challenges, you will face it just like that. Success and failure will not be two different entities, it will be just the same thing. Okay, so that's why it's very important that you start thinking about becoming productive. That's the eighth one. Ninth one is know exactly when to unwind. I spoke about the energy cycles, right? So if you're productive, you also know when you will not be productive. Therefore, that's a downtime that you have. Therefore, you will unwind. Therefore, you will not get into, all those burnout zones. So you can just go through this, right? So you'll know your energy cycles, avoid burnout, implement self-care. When you say self-care, it's about and totally exactly understanding your mental state, your emotional state, your physical state, spiritual state. Okay, so as part of being living a healthy life, you will be very, very well aware of all these things, and you will make sure that you do not get into burnout zones in any of these areas. Okay, so that's the ninth one. And downtime is not a one-time vacation activity. Downtime has to happen every single day. That's also what it means to know exactly when to unwind. That's the ninth one. And tenth one is change the world for the better. If you want to, first of all, change your world, your own world for the better, and then change the world for the better. This type world, if you know what I'm saying. If you know what I'm saying, this type world. So these are all the 10 reasons. And if you have any more reasons, you can just share it in the chat box now, or if you're watching this as a recording, do share your comments. If you are already experiencing few things out of this list or anything else apart from this, do share what has been your experience of being that productive individual.